Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Over half a century driving the people of Tipperary and surrounding areas with quality, reliable and economical vehicles, new and used. Call the sales team today to discuss your next car or van on 067 24 111.
Thanks, Pat. Welcome back to the second hour of Tip Today. One of our listeners is very cross and saying this is from a retired Garda Fran, Drew Harris, and his outsiders ruined morale in the Gardaí, young men and women working under burnout. I spoke to two members lately. One said, I love my job, but I hate going to work. The other said, most older members are just counting down the years. You have to blame for inflicting this on Irish, the government to blame for inflicting this on Irish people, says our contributor this morning. Now, in light of the video circulating of two men openly shooting up drugs on the main guard in Clonmel, we received a correspondence from a relation of one of the men involved. And just to bring you that, it reads, like a lot of people in Clonmel, I'm related to one of the men in that video going around this week. It's been a rough week, and honestly, it's heartbreaking to see how people are talking about the two lads who are genuinely unwell. People seem to forget they're real people who need help. Even if they haven't made the best choices, we still care about them. They were once just little babies, you know. No one really gets how much pain we are feeling right now. I just hope something positive can come from all of this. Maybe it can be a wake-up call for us as a community to really address the problem and to find a proper solution. We need to have an honest chat so that other families don't end up in the same position. Now, these conversations are happening because a community training workshop is set to take place in the Talbot Hotel tomorrow and Friday, titled Understanding Substance Use Patterns, Local Trends and Effective Response, which is being held in response indeed to the Clonmel Community Conversations on Substance Misuse. Glad to be joined now by one of the organisers, and that's Stacey Lyons. Stacey is from the National Voluntary Drug and Alcohol Sector. Good morning to you, Stacey, and good to see you today, and thanks for coming in to us. Will you tell us about your organisation, NVDAS? What is it all about?
Yes, so thanks, Fran. Thanks for having us in this morning to speak on this. So I am the National Voluntary Coordinator for the National Voluntary Drug and Alcohol Sector. Our organisation is an umbrella organisation for community and voluntary sector services that deal with substance use across the whole spectrum nationally. So we have about 80 to 90 members at the moment. They go across all tiers of the service, so from harm reduction to recovery services and everything else in between. So that would be youth support, education and prevention, harm reduction, stabilisation, detox, residential treatment, and then aftercare in recovery and a sustaining recovery.
Right, and do you liaise with the Gardaí as well?
We would in certain projects, yeah.
Right, okay.
And our services would have, a lot of our services would have really, really positive relationships with the guards.
Part of the title to your workshop is Substance Use Trends. Will you talk to me about those trends? Because what shocked an awful lot of people was the idea, and you know, I suppose we shouldn't be so naive, but the idea of people openly using syringes on the main guard in Clonmel. What about the trends? Yeah,
so like obviously I can't speak on that individual case, but the trends that are out there, like opiate use, which would be the syringe use or the intravenous use, and as horrific as that is to see, that is a very minute, I suppose, percentage of usage of any substance. And the top three for our area, our region in the southeast, from the last year, so 2024's HRB statistics, where alcohol was still top, then cannabis and cocaine use. For our youth in Tipperary, so under 18s and 18s to 24-year-olds, you're looking at, there was 69 cases treated for cocaine use, 47 cases for cannabis use, and 33 cases for alcohol use.
That's in Tipperary?
That's Tipperary alone. in 2024. So they are the cases that presented to residential treatment.
Right, okay. You're deliberately talking about alcohol when we talk about drug misuse. Do we often sort of leave that aside as something
we do,
that's
because alcohol is a legal substance,
legal, yes.
But it is a substance that gets misused quite a lot.
Yeah.
And like the people in that video didn't start at intravenous use. They didn't start at opiate use. And a lot of our youth, and we have done a Planet Youth survey within the secondary schools in Clonmel last year, in the last academic year, and the stats have come out from that. And alcohol use in youth level is quite high. So we have to address alcohol misuse. And we know the great week of sport we had last week.
Yeah.
We saw all the scenes in the pubs on Sunday. And yes, a lot of those had great crack, went home at a reasonable hour, had their couple of pints or couple of drinks, got up the next morning and went to work in great form. But there is a percentage of those who don't stop there. And when we're talking about substance use, we have to talk about
that has
all
to be part of the conversation.
It has to be.
Yeah. The use of cocaine then is interesting on several different levels, because many of the people who will be regular enough users of cocaine are people they're going about daily jobs. They might have even jobs of great importance and people depending on them and stuff. And they see nothing wrong with this. They almost see it as a clean kind of a recreational drug. You're smiling at me when I say that. That, some people feel, sure, it's grand. We only do a few lines at the weekend.
Yeah, and it has become quite socially acceptable to do that. But like with everything, all of that's great crack until it's not great crack, until it's problematic, until you're not turning up for work, until you're not using just on a Saturday night, going out with the lads, until you're sitting at home on a Tuesday in a dark room on your own doing it, and your life is crumbling around you. And cocaine has become something that has I suppose bridged the gap between your stereotypical drug user and the, I suppose, upper class. And
the people going about work on a daily basis. Yeah. And they don't see this as affecting them, and we hear it sometimes among our sports people as well, because they're saying, well, we don't have hangovers from this stuff. But as you say, that's the beginning. Yeah.
And we have a lot of people that will speak out about that had the recreational use, and they saw it kind of snowball into something that was a monster that they needed help to defeat. And it is something that just takes over, and it takes over bit by bit by bit. And it's no longer the one or two lines on a Saturday night. Like I said, it's sitting in your bedroom in the dark, online, and it develops into something much, much more problematic.
The other part of the title to your workshop then, community response.
Yeah.
The response that I'm seeing over the last while, and indeed over years, is that people are very frustrated by all of this. People are fearful as well about what they're seeing, because sometimes to feed a habit, people become criminal, and they're stealing, and there's burglaries going on, and people are afraid to walk towns at night and the like. So what community response aspect are you referring to there? And
like, friend, like we spoke just a few minutes ago, like my role, I have a national remit, but I'm a local person. So Clonmel is my town, and I have young children, and so I see what everyone else sees as well, not just through the rose-coloured glasses of my profession,
yes,
but I see it at the raw face of it also. So I understand, but I don't think we're ever going to solve this problem within our town if we don't just take a step back and ask ourselves, well, am I, like, do I need to take a certain amount of maybe action here? Could I engage with someone a bit kinder? Could I maybe offer a hand to help, or ask them, are they okay today? Do they need help ringing a service? There is a plethora of services within Clonmel, and there is a number of services outside of Clonmel that look after people and have looked after people from Clonmel.
You see, I'm not sure about that, Stacey, because, a lot of the descriptions coming into us of various events is that, there's boisterous stuff going on, there's pushing and shoving, and there's violence involved. And, you're not going to have people want to engage there, even kindly people who would want to help in some way.
And look, like I said, I understand it. But the pushing and shoving and the boisterous stuff happens by people who aren't misusing substances also. And that behaviour has to be dealt with as that behaviour. But I am talking about seeing someone really unwell and not taking a moment to maybe ring the guards for a wellness check. If you're not able to take that step forward
you're saying
yourself.
If somebody's lying there and they're not responding, and
or they just don't look well.
Okay.
Or ringing the Substance Misuse Centre in Clonmel and just informing them so that the outreach services can maybe check in on someone. So it's those little things as a community we can take a step forward together, because if we create a space if we create a space full of hostility and shame for people who are misusing substances, if someone starts to get into a run of, I suppose, misuse, and they're not at crisis level yet, they are less likely to put up their hand because they will be shamed and they will be thrown aside and looked at less than, because that's the environment that they have grown up in. They have been taught to not look at that person because they're less than, or they're trouble, or whatever it might be. So if we aren't looking at people as a human being first and dealing with the behaviour also, like I am not saying forgive them for everything and let them away with everything, and what I'm just, we need to look at it with a human eye, because like your texter or your caller had said, these are human beings. These are people who were little boys, little girls sometimes.
And I mean, I understand that perfectly. But I would say to you
of course,
that the older people who are trying to make their way around the town are human beings as well.
And I completely
who would have brought
understand
up families and who would have spent an awful lot of time, working in their communities and stuff. And now they're fearful because of what's going on out there.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's a community response. So it is us coming here and providing the education and information around it. It is the guards, and the guards will be present at these workshops. So we have service representatives there at the workshops. So it's about a community response of all of us coming together so that we can be informed, we can be engaged, and we can approach this in the best way possible and in the safest way possible. So this isn't a them or us. It isn't a one rights above someone else's right. This is everyone in Clonmel should feel safe in Clonmel, regardless of who they are, where they live.
Okay, I'm just looking at the screen in front of me, and there's a lot of, there's a varied response to what you're saying.
I can just imagine.
Most people making the point that, listen, we need to feel safe. These people might have issues. Maybe they need to be looked after from a medical point of view or from a psychiatric point of view. Fine. But, we should be able to go and live our lives and not be afraid.
I don't disagree with that. Okay. Like I said, I'm from the town. I have children.
Right, so I can
see both sides of the coin.
Okay. So tell me, who's welcome along to your workshop then?
So these workshops are aimed at adults. Okay. So anyone that has an interest to learn more about what is going on, to learn more about the trends and the use within Clonmel, Tipperary and nationally, and to learn more about the services that provide any type of support within Clonmel.
Right, very good. Now, they're happening at 7 o'clock, I think, tomorrow evening, is it?
7 o'clock tomorrow evening and at 10 a.m. on Friday. And it's just so that we can capture as many people as possible.
Okay, and do people have to register ahead of time?
They don't have to register. They just show up with an open mind, and we are there to discuss everything.
Right, open discussion there. And
open discussion.
Along with yourself, who else will be presenting?
So myself and Katrina Crow, I know you had Katrina here a couple of times before. She's from Sláinte Care. We will be kind of hosting it, and then we have Dawn Russell. She is the CEO of Anna Liffey. She's also an NVDAS member, and she is our early warning and emerging trends representative in the national forums. But Dawn is actually from Clonmel as well, so she has an invested interest in the town. So she is coming down to, I suppose, speak on the national figures and at a more kind of models that of care and models of that work in other rural towns across the country that they have helped implement.
Okay, so we'll be able to hear some comparisons.
Some comparisons, yeah, of course. And then we have representatives there from Ashery and from the Guards, and then we have Sinead O'Mahony and Carmel O'Neill from the Substance Misuse Centre in Clonmel, and they will be providing the information locally.
Okay, right. I know you're going to talk about early warning systems and that kind of thing.
Early warning, emerging trends, the systems, recognising the signs, symptoms, behaviours, and exploring all the warning signs and warning symptoms of all the most commonly used substances here in Clonmel.
All right, Stacey, good to see you. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
For that. 1800 938 007, 25 past 10.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.